finally, Abu Zubaydah begins to stir. And I stand up at the foot of his bed. I put my hands on my hips and I'm looking at him. And he's like tied down and he opens just one eye. Of course, he only had one eye, right? He opens his eye and he doesn't look at me. Yeah, he looks at SpongeBob. And his pulse goes from 120 to 220 like in a second. And the machine starts going beep, 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 beep. And then you hear code blue, code blue. And these people rush in.
He saw SpongeBob and he knew it was up.
He was like, oh my God, the Americans have me.
Oh. Wow.
So finally they bring Abu Zubaydah out of surgery. And again, completely and utterly soaked in blood. They're pumping blood into him with a pump. And as quickly as they're pumping it in, it's just spilling out of him. And it's dripping off the bed. It made a big pool under the bed. It was like a scene out of a horror movie.
Yeah.
So I sat down at the foot of his bed and I'm looking at him, just staring at him. And I'm thinking, you know what? I am so tired. I'm afraid I'm going to fall asleep.
He's in a coma, right?
Yeah, he's in a coma. But I'm thinking, what if the doctor's Al-Qaeda? I don't know. I don't know who this doctor is. So I tore up a sheet into strips and I tied his wrists and his ankles to the bed, thinking if somebody tries to break him out.
This poor guy's in a coma. You're tying him down.
Like, yeah, he doesn't have enough suffering for one lifetime. I thought if somebody tries to break him out, I'll hear it and I'll wake up and I don't know, shoot someone. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I just sit at the foot of the bed and I just stare at him. He's in a coma for a full 24 hours. I am so tired and hungry and I smell bad. So I called one of my buddies over at the safe house. I said, buddy, can you bring me some clothes and some food? I think I got a pair of underwear, a pair of socks, and I got a t-shirt in there. And bring me some food and a coffee, a big one. So about a half an hour later, he shows up and he gives me my underwear, my socks. The only shirt I had was this shirt that you know about.
I can't believe you didn't wear this today. I was so upset when you showed up at the door.
Yeah, Danny Jones said that. It never even occurred to me to put the shirt on.
Yeah, tell people what the shirt is.
So my kids had bought me this shirt for Christmas. It was a fire engine red shirt with SpongeBob SquarePants on it. And we used to love watching SpongeBob together when they were little. They're in their 20s and 30s now. And that was the only clean shirt I had. So I put the shirt on. He brought me some orange juice and coffee and some crackers. So I'm sitting there. And finally, Abu Zubaydah begins to stir. And I stand up at the foot of his bed. I put my hands on my hips and I'm looking at him. And he's like tied down and he opens just one eye. Of course, he only had one eye, right? He opens his eye. And he doesn't look at me. Yeah, he looks at SpongeBob. And his pulse goes from 120 to 220 like in a second. And the machine starts going beep, 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 beep. And then you hear code blue, code blue. And these people rush in.
He saw SpongeBob and he knew it was up.
He was like, oh my God, the Americans have me. And they're like, clear, right? And then they give him Demerol and he's out again. And then I just sat back down and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. And like 6 hours later, he starts to stir again. So he opens his eyes and now he's just looking at me. He's tied down. He's just looking at me, staring at me. And then he goes like this and motions for me to come over. So I go next to him and I moved his oxygen mask off of his mouth and I said, Shu Ismek, what is your name? And he shakes his head. So I said again, Shu Ismek. And then he says to me in English, I will not speak to you in God's language. And I said, that's okay, Abu Zubaydah, we know who you are. And then he starts crying and he says, please, brother, kill me. Take the pillow and kill me. And I said, no, nobody's going to kill you. I said, you're going to get the best medical care that the American government can provide.
That's not what he wanted to hear.
No. And he wanted to know what was going to happen to him. And I said, honestly, I don't know. I can tell you, though, that I am the nicest guy that you're going to meet in this experience. My colleagues, they are not nice like I am. I said, the truth is your life is over. But what remains can be easy or it can be terrible. And it's up to you. If you'll listen to some advice, I said, it's that you have to cooperate. He said, you seem like a nice man, but you're the enemy, and I'll never cooperate. I said, well, it's up to you. So then I sat back down. He would just look at me and then kind of wave for me to come over. I move his oxygen mask. Are you Christian? And I said, yes, I'm Christian.
He's like,
yeah, right. We have a lot in common. I said, yes, we do. I studied Islam in college, and we actually do have a lot in common. Then he wanted to tell me about his family. He cried a lot. He said he would never know the touch of a woman. He would never know the joy of fatherhood. And I said, you're not the victim here. There were 50,000 people in those towers that morning. Did you think we wouldn't try to find you or to find bin Laden?
What did he say to that?
He said he never wanted to attack the United States on 9/11.
Did you believe him?
Yes, because he was direct about it. He said, all I ever wanted to do was kill Jews. And I was like, oh, well, that puts it into perspective.
Unless he just starts dying over here. So he wanted to attack Israel. Obviously.
He wanted to attack Israel, and he said that he had been, I mean, it's not a democracy, but essentially outvoted. Yeah.
Now, wasn't he not really the number 3?
He was most definitely.
Al-Qaeda?
Not only was he not the number 3 in Al Qaeda, he had never actually joined Al Qaeda.
So how did he even have a vote then?
Well, just because he had never pledged fealty didn't mean that he wasn't an important part of the organization's logistics.
Yeah, that's so confusing to me that he never officially joined, but he had so much power.
And it was because he was really good at what he did. So
he's like Jimmy Conway from Goodfellas. He's not an Italian, so he's not.
That is the perfect analogy. I wish I had thought of that.
Okay.
That's the perfect analogy. Jimmy Conway was Irish, so he was never going to be a member. He was never going to be made, but he was an associate. That's what we should say.
All right, you can use that one.
He was an associate. So he was the one who founded the House of Martyrs. It's called the House of Martyrs. It's the Al Qaeda safe house in Peshawar, Pakistan. And he was the one that founded and managed Al Qaeda's 2 training camps, one in Kandahar and one in Lashkar Gah in Helmand province. So those were important events.
Yeah.
He also was the logs guy. So if you have been in Afghanistan for a while, you're tired of the fight, you want to go home, he'll get you out of the country. He'll get you a false passport and a ticket home. Or you're arriving from the Middle East, he'll smuggle you in, make sure you're set up, and get you on the payroll. So he was doing all these logistics for them.
Why did we think he was the number 3?
That's the $64,000 question.
That's it? It's a low number.
Yeah, well, that was the game show in the 50s. He has a first cousin with the same name, Abu Zubaydah.
Okay.
Abu Zubaydah's real name is Zain al-Abidin Muhammad Hussein.
It's his nom de guerre.
Nom de guerre is Abu Zubaydah. He had a cousin also using the nom de guerre Abu Zubaydah.
Okay.
So we're getting these reports. Abu Zubaydah is planning an attack in Amman. Wait a minute. 2 days later, Abu Zubaydah is planning an attack in London. Oh, no, Abu Zubaydah, it turns out he was in Montana 2 years ago. Oh, no, Abu Zubaydah is doing an attack in Ankara. Well, we didn't know there were 2 of them. And so we thought this guy's a freaking terrorist Superman. I mean, there was like a whole branch following Abu Zubaydah. They're like, oh, my God, he had a host family in Montana. Oh, he's in Paris. He's studying in Paris. Oh, my God, he went back to Amman. It was 2 guys. And one of them, the other one was bad, too. And as soon as we arrested the one, the other one just disappeared.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.